Well, my little rubber gaskets were a little too thin, so I made another set of them and I doubled them up, and then I glued the layers together with silicone adhesive. I got silicone adhesive on the bolts along the shaft of the bolt going through the hole and on the outside here. So now I'm going to just put a little bit of silicone on here. Actually, all I need to do is really put some on the outside here. Alright, I got some stainless steel washers. Put one on that side. And I got these self-locking nuts that have these nylon bushing in them, so they're only going to go on so far before they get tight. Go ahead and just turn it on to get it started. Looks pretty good to me. I ain't going anywhere. Alright, so now that I've got the mount squared away, now I got to figure out what I'm going to do about this steering issue on this thing. So whatever was on this boat for a motor, what was supposed to happen was this rod right here was supposed to go through this tube, and this connection would come out the other side of the tube. Then this nut right here would thread on to this threaded area on this side, and that would hold the outside of the cable captive so that when the inside of the cable moved, it would be able to move the motor. Then, if this was coming out that hole, there would have to be some sort of linkage to go from this to this. So this would have to be, it would have to be a different design. It'd have to be like a dog-leg piece in here as an adapter or something. But I noticed that I've got a problem where I can't get this rod to go through this tube, because to do that I've got to push this back far enough for it to reach through the hole like this. And if I engage this in this hole right here like this and I try and push this through, I can't get this to go through because of the angle. And the reason why I can't push the back of this down to get the angle correct is because of the hole that this comes out of in this hole right here. So this would have to come out further down. So I could make this hole larger, elongate this hole, and then I could get this through, but then it's still not going to hook up to the motor correctly. And then if down the road I want to change this outboard motor to a different motor, I might regret cutting a hole in the hull to do that. Now I have another problem. When I first bought this boat, one of the things I did was I checked to make sure that the steering wasn't locked up. So when I turn the steering wheel, of course, this rod would move like it's supposed to. It no longer does that. So in the one season that it's been in my ownership sitting under a tarp all winter, something has happened and that cable has locked up. And I can push pretty hard on that steering wheel and it doesn't want to move. So this is probably one of those Teleflex cables. It's a Morse. It's got a good part number on it, so I'm sure I could buy a new one, but I really don't want to have to if I don't have to. You know, I had a recollection that I had tested this before I bought the boat, but maybe I'm thinking of the other boat or something, I don't know. Although the other boat I ended up having to replace the cable in. Well, the reason why I'm wondering if maybe now I was wrong and that this has had a problem right along is because I just looked underneath there, and lo and behold, 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts already missing. And I think there's 2 bolts that might go on the top here that are already missing too. So I think somebody's already had this apart. Matter of fact, this whole thing is flexing like crazy because of the fact that those bolts are already removed. So I'm going to try and disconnect this end of the cable. Alright, so these 7/16 inch bolts right here, these 4, are long. They go all the way through this housing right here. And there are nuts on the top. So I've got to get a wrench on the top to hold the nut. Should be able to take these 4 out. And that should take this rack assembly and release it from the pinion gear that's in here
Well, I was able to get 3 out of the 4 out, and I thought I was losing my mind because I couldn't get this. No matter how many times I turned this nut, it wasn't coming out. And what I've now determined is that there's something really screwed up with this bolt, so that the nut just keeps turning but will not unscrew. So this is going to be a pickle. I might have to grind the head off of this bolt and just pop the bolt out and then replace it after. Well, I may have stumbled upon another solution here, because the idea of grinding this head off while upside down under the dashboard here is not exactly thrilling to me. So I just noticed that there appears to be a snap ring on the outside of the end of this shaft, and judging how this is moving, I think if I remove that snap ring, I might be able to slide this whole rack right off the end of the shaft. All right, I just got that snap ring off. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right. So it turns out all you need to do to take this whole cable assembly off of the steering wheel, which is obviously not the problem because it spins freely, is to just take that snap ring off the end and slide the whole thing off. These 4 that were missing needed to be off to do that, but these 4 that I've been trying to take off did not. And that one looks perfectly fine, but I will show you, or I will assure you, that when you turn it and you turn it and you turn it, it does not back off. All right, now with this out of the boat, it's a lot easier to see how this is made. So all it is inside this metal channel right here, there's a rack gear, just a bar with teeth in it, and that engages a pinion gear, which you can't see in here. And what happens is when the steering wheel shaft turns that gear, it moves that rack back and forth. The end of the rack is attached inside here to a steel cable. The steel cable is protected by this casing right here and is attached at this other end to this rod, so that when the rack moves back and forth on that end, this is supposed to move in and out. Now, it almost never seizes up at this end because this is up underneath the dashboard and it's really well protected. What usually happens is this is left in a way, like in this case it was disconnected from the outboard when they sold the outboard motor on this boat to somebody before I came along, and this was probably just sitting like this, and rain, snow, and ice and everything was allowed to just sit in here and melt and work its way down inside here, and probably rusted the steel cable inside here to the inside of this. So if it's not too badly rusted, might be able to break it free and then get a bunch of penetrating lubricant down inside there. But the reality is that the last one of these I tried to do that too. I spent a whole lot of time in vain trying to break it free, and the end result was the fact that it was that badly rusted would indicate that probably the cable was compromised, so it needed to be replaced. I really am hoping I don't have to replace this one. I noticed that this is riveted, so I'm wondering whether or not you're supposed to replace this as an assembly with this rack gear. If that's the case, I can imagine this thing's pretty pricey. Matter of fact, just for the heck of it, I should look up what this thing actually crosses to. Because the last one of these I bought, I think I found a new old stock one on eBay, really reasonably priced. So I was able to confirm that cable comes with that rack on it. And this is a Morse E600 319 14-foot cable, which the best price I can find on the internet is $130. Alright, so as far as bad ideas go, this probably isn't my worst. So I've got the I got an old drift pin stuck through
section on the frame on the trailer. So this is now kind of captive to the trailer, right? Okay. And then we got a chain hooked to this end. And then we got the ATV.
Then we definitely need to take the trailer off.
What'd you say?
It's gonna be too long.
Just relax. Slowly. Alright. No. Wait. Pull forward a couple feet. Alright, stop. Put it in reverse.
Non-four-wheel drive.
No. What you're going to do is you're just going to give it a quick rev so it comes back and just jerks. But I don't want you to keep on the throttle. You're like, whoa, that's it.
I put it in four-wheel drive.
I told you, leave it in two-wheel drive. I didn't tell you to put it in.
I had it in four-wheel drive before.
All right, ready? Set. Go. All right. It broke the pin.
What?
It broke the drift pin. God knows where it went. All right, so the pin that I was using, the drift pin that I was using was this drift punch that I was using was this old one because it had a bunch of bends in it. It was in really bad shape to begin with. It was already badly abused. So I don't feel too bad about the fact that it is junk now. Snapped it pretty good. I don't even know where the other half of it went flying. All right, so we're limited by the thickness of the pin that we can use. There's a piece of steel. It's an old kickstand off a bicycle. So we're limited what we can use by the size of this hole, which consequently would make me think that's going to be the next thing that's going to snap. That's going to snap if the cable doesn't give first. We're ready to take another run at this. Same way you did it before. Hold on. I'm sorry. This time I'm going to get a shot of the carnage. See if it rips this out. All right, go. It worked. Oh, I can't believe that worked. At least I think it worked. This is all showing now. See?
Yeah.
Yep. That's grease.
Push it in.
That should move a lot easier than that. Wow.
Is it all the way out?
Well, just the fact that we broke it free, it should work. And so I don't know, maybe something happened inside here to the cable now. Well, what we could do is we could try and throw it back on the steering wheel and turn the rack and see what happens. Unhook that chain and we'll throw it back in the helm of the boat. The question is, if we turn if we put that back on the steering column so that the pinion gear engages the rack, will this turn? And there's only one way to find that out. Well, all right, we didn't have the camera on for that, but I got up under there and was able to get the rack back onto the shaft off the steering wheel under the helm, and was able to turn it and get it to go back in a little bit, but it was very difficult to turn. So what I'm wondering now is whether or not, if I clean all of this really lousy grease off of here and try and get some good lube down in there, whether or not that would make a difference or not. My concern is that there's damage to the cable or something in there that's causing the problem, because I can't pull this back out, for instance, at all. Hey, can you grab me that kickstand piece that we were using there? I'll use it as a handle to try and pull on this. Yeah, see, that's crazy. That shouldn't be that hard.
Twist it while you're pulling it.
I don't think that makes a difference. Well, see what happens when I twist it, all that happens is this turns. This doesn't unscrew, does it? I mean, that would be awesome if it did, but I doubt it. No.
Twist it while you're pulling it. Just do it.
No. That must be,
I wonder how they bond that, how that's made. Crying out loud, this looks like stainless over here. This looks like stainless steel, so this isn't even really the part that would be corroding.
Maybe it's inside.
It's water gets passed here inside the jacket, so I mean, there's no way to take the cable out. If there was a way to take the cable out of the jacket completely, clean the cable, inspect it, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, and put it back in, that'd be one thing, but this does not come apart.
And why does it look like there's a nut inside that?
There isn't. This is a this is crimped or molded onto here somehow. They use some sort of process to. I almost guarantee you this being attached to this is like a one-shot deal. During the manufacturing process, they do that in some way, and they don't intend for that to ever be taken apart again. It's bad enough they don't let you just change the cable. They make you change the whole rack with it.
Pull it again.
Let's pull it again, only we won't jerk it. We'll slowly try and pull it back out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We won't be as violent this time. All right, go ahead. Take up the slack. Stop. Stop. That's as far as it goes that direction. So I guess this doesn't move in and out of here. This moves over that. So no amount of fluid going into here, if we'd like sprayed stuff in there, would probably do anything.
Maybe push it in now, see if you can.
See, by design, the cable must be inside this tube, and it's hooked up inside there.
Nope.
See, now it doesn't want to go back in. So that's where we would have to, again, put it back in the helm and pull it back in. If we had some way to hook onto that and pull it back that way. I mean, push it back in. That's what I meant. So that explains why that looks like that. Okay. All right, so we managed to snap this bad bolt that didn't want to unscrew. Just kept torquing on it finally. So that exposes the rack. So now with the rack exposed, I'm hoping I can just pry it back in.
The screwdriver's breaking. No, you're breaking the gear.
Yeah, see, that is...
Doesn't want to budge.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's way too tight.
Put a screwdriver there and bang it with the hammer.
And you know what's going to happen? See that little piece of metal right there?
Yeah.
That's already off of the tooth. What do you think is going to happen if I take a screwdriver and I hit that? What's going to happen?
Come on.
I can almost guarantee you we're going to chip a tooth right off. And it'll be junk, which it already is anyways.
Maybe you can try to take this. Maybe it's this part that's bad. There we go.
See, I think it's... No, I think it just... The cable's stretching and... Because it looks like almost like it goes right back to where it was. You know what I mean?
Drill these out.
Yeah, I could, but... All that's going to do is show us the whole rack.
You have to see inside of it and see if there's something like blocking something in this, and it's not the cable. You don't really know.
Yeah, but you see, this has been up underneath the part of the boat. It's like a dashboard, right? And built the boat, they call it the
But
helm.
how would it get in it from over there because it's closed off?
My point is, this has been... See how this is all dry? There's no corrosion on it. Zero. Zilch. Nada.
Rust.
Barely any. The funny thing is, the way this is put together, I'm wondering what's how does this...
Oh, there's
How does
clips
this
right
get
here.
held in?
There's clips. You just move them back and then they come out.
You think? They don't look like they go out in that direction, though. You see how they made?
No.
Doesn't that look like they were, like maybe some kind of machine crimps those in there and then it's not made to come apart?
Looks like it would, these I think come in from that, but maybe you could just, that comes apart like that, if you undo these. And it has
Oh, see these? Yeah, each one of these holes right here.
Can you grind that?
Yeah. So let's think about this. So I'm going to grind all of these off. Grind these off. Just open it up and get the rack out
To see what's wrong.
to prove what?
Who knows? It might be that. You never know. If you don't
Yeah, but
grind.
I'm trying to explain to you that the number one way these fail is the cable seizes inside the sheath.
But
You understand? I'm trying to tell you. This is... You're talking about doing a lot of work for what's going to amount to nothing. No gain.
better be
What?
better be could be sure than not sure.
Well, I'm not doing it tonight. I know that. See how this just turns around?
Yeah.
That's weird. I wouldn't have thought that would be able to do that. Almost seems like once you get this apart, I bet you there's a way you can disconnect this cable from the rack, which makes it all the more foolish that they didn't just make the cable replaceable by itself instead of having to pay for this rack. I get $130 and I can get a brand new one. And since I don't think this is going to work,